This is the Unsweetened Truth with Kristen Pucci, where we talk about everything but don't sugarcoat anything. Welcome back to the Unsweetened Truth with Kristen Pucci. Today, we are talking about unpopular opinions that I have regarding work cultures. There's many things in work cultures that I think have been either deemed as toxic or normal or the things that just kind of get swished under the rug that I don't think should be. And we're going to talk about them today. We made a list of all the things that there's so many more, but we're just going to get started with these. I may trail off and get stuck down a rabbit hole, but that's to be expected. But these are going to be all of my unpopular opinions and things that I just don't think should be normalized, that just very much so are. First one, hustle culture, okay? People that, I think just use the word hustle in general, hate it. Can't stand it. It's gross. And then especially when you make the S a dollar sign, hate that even more. So hustle culture shouldn't be a thing. Just because you're busy doesn't mean that you're being productive. And I have a friend, Paul. He knows that I always make fun of him for this all the time, so he's going to be fine with it. He'll actually be honored that he's made it to 2 podcasts. His name has been dropped in 2 podcasts. However, he is a hustler. This man is answering emails at 2 o'clock in the morning. He's working late into the evening. He's just so funny. It's a part of his brain. It's part of who he is, but I always give him crap for it. There's people that exist, and I've done business with them before, that they genuinely believe because they are working more, they are more valuable. And that's something I just genuinely don't believe. I don't take pride in never going on vacation, taking breaks, having bad work-life balance. There's nothing impressive to that about me. I just see it as inefficient, and you're a control freak and you're bad at delegating. So hustle culture needs to be out. You're going to burn yourself out. Burning yourself out is not attractive. Neglecting your family is not attractive to me. Having millions of dollars but no friends is not attractive to me. So I just overall hate hustle culture and the world and the world and the word, maybe, and the word hustle as well. This is close to it, but how people always say yes and they never say no when someone asks them to do something or a new task or a new this. Here's what's going to happen. Let me give you a little insight. If you are someone who always says yes to everything, you're going to be very resentful in your job because you're going to be like, oh my gosh, I have so much going on. I have so many different things that I'm doing and I have more than everybody else. You signed up for it. You said yes. There's no issues coming to an employer and setting boundaries. I promise you, whatever thing happened in your childhood that made you feel like you couldn't say no to an adult is not real. And in a workplace, you can simply say, no, I can't do that right now. Or I'd be happy to do that, but I'm going to have to reprioritize the other things that I have going on. Or that, puts a lot of different things on my plate. Is there something I could then hand off to somebody else? Or simply, no. Well, actually, I'm gonna back up. I don't know that I would just say no, like how they go, no is a full sentence. It is in some circumstances, but I don't know necessarily in work. Like if I came to one of my employees and I said, hey, can you do this? And they go, you know what? No, I don't really think that that's best suited for me. I think that might be better suited for another person, or that puts way too much on my plate. I think, should I reprioritize things that I'm working on? Saying yes blindly is not good. Not good. We need to have boundaries with our work. The customer's always right. No. You want your customer, actually, let me think about this. Customers are hiring you because they need you to accomplish something for them that they are not accomplishing, or that they need you to support them in some type of capacity, or like there's a need, right? Like if you are a service provider or you have a product, like they need what you offer. So they aren't the expert or the person that knows how to do it, or they probably would be doing it. Or if it is one of those situations that they're just delegating it because they need more help and whatever, fine. But assuming that a customer is always right is just really going to set you up for bad expectations. Sometimes they have unreasonable requests. Sometimes what they're saying literally doesn't even make any sense. Sometimes you're dealing with egotistical people that just literally cannot be wrong. I mean, like, people are right. People are right. And this does not mean that we are not going to provide good customer service and care about people and make sure that we're doing a good job. But absolutely, absolutely not. Working remotely means you're either not a real worker, you don't have a real job, and or you're not productive. That is such a consistent theme that I feel like, especially recently with people being more into remote working, that like I've either had friends that work in an office or I've dated somebody that they work in an office and I don't. And there's just like this expectation, this connotation that like, because you're physically in your house, oh, she can handle that. Or, it's like, just she's at home already, so she can handle that. Or, it's like everything in the home is the responsibility and working in is the responsibility. No. If anything, I've heard people say that when they work at home, that they are more productive because they're away from other people in the office. Now, do I believe that there should be a good balance here? Of course. There's times that I wish I did have an office for my company, simply from just being able to spend time together. But because all of my employees and my team members are very close in proximity, we do see each other quite frequently. So I would say if somebody didn't have that, they would want to balance that out. But no, just because someone is a remote worker and they work at their home does not mean that the job is easier, less important, or they just aren't working as hard because they are physically in a different location than sitting in a tuna fish can. There's a completely different connotation with that, and it doesn't need to be a thing. This is a good one. More meetings equals more collaboration or more success. I cannot stand a meeting that could have been an email, could have been a phone call, could have been something like that. Okay. Something hit me the other day that like, where did phone calls go? I think like COVID happened, pandemic happened, and then we all got obsessed with Teams, and then we like never backed off Teams, right? We went right from in-person meetings to Teams, and we just totally eliminated phone calls. I'm bringing the phone calls back. I'm just going to call somebody real quick. I tried to do it the other day, and then the guy actually asked to be on Teams with me, which I thought was funny. So I just think like we're so for the past 5 years, we've just been so conditioned to be on Teams now when it's like, just give me a phone call. This could be a 5-minute phone call. So I'm bringing that back. So if any of my clients probably listen to this, I'd assume I'm going to start calling you on a phone instead of doing Teams all the time because I think it's just more efficient. An unpopular opinion I have is that you should always give 2 weeks notice. There are circumstances in your life that you need to get the heck out. Okay. And there's also going to be circumstances in your life that you need to give longer than 2 weeks. So this fact that 2 weeks are standard, I understand that, but in certain roles, they are not. So I had a circumstance that I was working in an environment that I was very emotionally unsafe. How do I want to explain that? Emotionally unsafe. It was a very toxic work environment. I needed to get out. My mental health was not good. I put in a week notice. I gave him a week of a heads up because I knew, and I know right once I say this, people are going to resonate with it. I knew the moment that I put in my notice at this company, I was going to have a target on my back. I knew whatever period of time I was still going to be there was going to be absolute living hell for me. I knew that my manager was going to be out to get me. It was horrible when I was physically there and I didn't put my notice in yet. So I can't even imagine with them knowing that I'm leaving, right? Now it's even more fair game. I knew that I was literally, I had a target on my back. And guess what? I put the week notice in. They came into my office that day and said, you can be done today. And I said, great. I should have maybe thought about that a little bit more, maybe put 2 weeks in and then I could have got 2 weeks of free time, but it's okay. It's fine. But they let you off. And then there's also times that you think 2 weeks is enough. And you do when you're in maybe a higher level executive role or maybe you're in charge of accounts or projects, things like that. You probably should put in more than 2 weeks. You need to make sure that you maintain your relationships, your clients, and different things like that. So you need to be careful of that. You must have a degree to succeed. I don't believe that is true. I think the world is changing. I think college is becoming unattainable from a financial perspective. I also think it's becoming irrelevant for many people. I think college is very, very relevant for people like doctors, engineers, those that have to acquire some type of certifications, licenses, to be able to do the work that they're going to be doing. But I think I'll use myself as an example. I don't know that I needed to go to college for marketing. I do believe that I learned things. I'm very thankful for my experience that I did, but I don't know that I needed to go to school for marketing. I really wonder sometimes if I could have saved all that money, got a really good internship, really good job right out of high school, had a really great mentor, what my experience would have looked like. And again, I believe everything happens the way it's supposed to, but I just think people need to not have so much pressure. And I also believe parents, I had a situation with a family that I knew that they were really pressuring the youngest sister in the family to go to college, and that's not what she wanted to do. And I think in today's day and age, you do not have to go to college to be successful. And in certain areas and in certain demographics, they believe that that's what you have to do to be successful now, but they are very behind the times. People that are successful now and rich and brilliant and wealthy, it's not that they're the most educated, right? Like, I am not even the most educated at my own company. I guarantee my employees probably all had a higher GPA than I did. Guarantee. But I'm good at other things like leading people and collaboration and vision and direction and strategy and those things like that. I am not the most educated of my group. So I'm not necessarily super impressed with people that are like, I'm a doctor and whatever, like, or I've been doing something for 25 years. That's another one. That's another one. Just because you've been doing something for a long time doesn't mean that you've been doing it well. You can say, oh, I've, been doing this for the last 20 years. How do I know that you haven't been doing the exact same thing every year for 20 years? How do I know that you've gotten better? How do I know that you're not in millions of dollars of debt? Or you're like, just because you've been doing something for a long time doesn't mean or equate to automatically that you're good at something or you're better than somebody else who hasn't been doing it as long. And I noticed that that's a consistent theme. And I want you guys to make note of when people say things like that to you. It's typically when they're feeling a bit insecure. They're feeling a bit insecure in a meeting, or they're feeling a bit insecure with whoever's in the room. And they feel like they have to like, I've been doing this for 25 years. I've been doing it for 5. And I feel really good about the last 5 that I've been doing it. Did I do it the first 3 not as good as the last 2? Sure. But it's funny. That's a funny one that I really struggle with. Asking for help makes you look weak or less than or incapable. Not true. I love when I don't know how to do something. And it's frequent. Every day I don't know how to do something. But I try to figure out how can I accomplish this. At the end of the day, it's not personal. And I think that, and I'm really speaking to, could be business owners, employees, whoever it is, who maybe don't recognize that this is coming from a place of insecurity. But if you don't want to give something up, or you don't want to delegate, or you want to like, I got to figure this out and I got to figure this out. No, you don't. The sooner that you can figure out that your job as a business owner or a CEO or an executive is just to like remove obstacles for your team and to create clear vision and direction and strategy for them, the freer you are going to be. You don't have to be this like fearless leader that is perfect and has the answer to everything. Nobody does. So don't put that pressure on yourself. You need to stick in your lane of the things that you're really, really good at, and then allow other people who fill all your gaps and voids, hire them, bring them in, the smarter people. I want smarter people to work for me. Be better than me. Be smarter than me. Come up with better ideas than me. I love that. I love that. Be smarter than me. I want you to be smarter. I want you to be faster. I want you to be quicker. I want you to be better. All of those things, because that makes the team better. What I'm good at is just like getting all those people together and be like, let's go, in this direction. Let's work together on this. And, I've seen just time and times again, whether it's a CEO, a manager, a business owner, those people that just like, really hold on to all of their tasks. They never delegate. They never ask for help. They never want to make it seem like they don't know how to do something. It really stunts your growth, and it stunts your ability to move forward. So people know that you need help, and smart professionals know that they're supposed to be asking for help and delegating. If I don't know something, I got a guy that does. And Yeah, I saw a quote the other day that was really good. That was like, um, competition happens at the bottom. We're collaborating at the top. And I think that is so, so true is when you look at someone who does something similar to you as a competitor instead of an opportunity to collaborate, it's going to hold you back. So now, are there definitely times, and there's people that I even do this, that I know that there's a competitor that isn't going to want to collaborate with me? Sure. So I'm not going to, seek them out, but I want to find other people because they aren't me. They don't do what I do and I don't do what they do. And they specialize in certain things. Why don't we fill each other's voids? Why don't we fill each other's gaps? And how can we help and collaborate with each other? So I think it's great. Um, mm. Another really great unpopular opinion. You should stay at a job for a certain period of time. It's a very old school way of thinking. Now, I want to be very clear that you should give a job enough time to figure out if it's right for you. I can't tell you how many times I'm going to use college as an example, myself included. Your freshman year, you're a couple weeks in, you're like, I hate college. It's horrible. This is the worst thing ever. I shouldn't be here. I think probably at least 75% of college students go through that. It's a major change. It's a major shift. You're learning new things. You're struggling to adapt. That doesn't mean that you should just get up, quit, and leave, right? When something's difficult, it doesn't mean you get up, you quit, and you leave. However, I do not believe you should stay in any circumstance, any job, any relationship, anything. Don't stay there just for the sake of being like, if I leave before 2 years, people are going to think. If it is an unhealthy work environment, if it is not serving you, if it is not what the company sold you, and then now you're there and you're like, this place isn't what they told me it was, you're allowed to leave. It's okay to leave. But then you need to sit and seriously reflect on how you ended up there, maybe how you got into that position. Now, if someone specifically tried to deceive you, that's not your fault. But you just don't want to go to another bad. You don't want to go to another situation and then be in that short term because you'll only get away with that so many times. Feedback should always be taken without question. Being able to be unoffendable, non-offendable, not offendable, not offended, however you want to say it. That is such a skill that I recommend that you learn. Because feedback is an interesting thing at work. There's two different types of feedback that I feel like you're going to get. You're going to get and it depends on the type of person that's giving it to you. There's feedback from people that are committed to misunderstanding you, and then there's feedback to people that are committed to helping you grow. And the feedback you want to listen to is not from the first, it's from the latter. You want to always take feedback from people that have your best interests. They're committed to your growth. They want to see you succeed. There's a lot of people in your life that are going to give you feedback just because they hate themselves, they're miserable. You have to think of the intent, right? And so that's why I don't want you to blindly be taking feedback and just being like, that must be who I am because that's what they said. No. There's a lot of people out there that should not be providing feedback and they shouldn't be giving feedback. So make sure that you are open to the feedback. You're not offended by the feedback, but you don't want to just take it blindly and change a behavior or change the trajectory or the direction that you're moving just because someone somewhere said something. Always think about the intent of the person saying the feedback. I will say something else. Every time someone gives you feedback, if you think that there's something wrong with that person every single time you get feedback, that's a self-awareness thing. If every time you get feedback, you're offended, your feelings are hurt, or that's not correct, or that's not who I am, there's a common denominator here. And so that's something that I would challenge you to look at it. But do not follow feedback blindly. More money is going to solve your problems. Unpopular opinion. More money is not going to solve your problems. I've seen this a lot with talents. that they're making a certain amount of money and then they make significantly more money and then they're in a better and or worse spot than they were when they were making less money. It's a consistent theme. And I've noticed that it's a consistent theme with people in general. I was also even guilty of this. Prior to starting my own company, I was making a certain amount, and then I started my own company, and then I started making a certain amount. You carry the same money habits that you have making $60,000 as you do making $150,000. So there's a lie that you'll believe if I have more money, if I make more money, if I have access to more money, I will be better off financially. That simply is not true. If you are not managing your money well at $50,000, $60,000 or whatever it is you're currently making, and then you double that, you're going to use the exact same money tactics, money habits that you have at the smaller dollar amount. Yeah, there's a lot of bosses out there that don't care about your career growth. There's a lot of bosses out there that are like very in it for themselves. There's a lot of really insecure bosses out there and insecure managers, and they're really just worried about their title, their ego, and what you can do for them. And it makes me really sad because I've worked for a lot of those people, and those types of people exist. And you're being honored and given the responsibility to lead, coach, mentor, employ other people. And there's a lot of people out there that just don't take that seriously. And just don't make an assumption that your boss cares about you. Don't make that assumption that your boss cares about you, because there's a lot of bosses that do not. And you know the difference. Like, you know the difference when you know that your boss genuinely cares. Like, what I'm about to say is probably gonna hurt feelings, but everybody is replaceable. Okay. From a logistical standpoint and a logical standpoint, every single person is replaceable. However, your boss should be very committed to the fact that it is you, and that they should have skin in the game in regards to you, and that they want to make sure that you are successful, right? And when I'm talking about people being replaceable, I'm thinking like, you're an engineer with this license and this capability. You're an engineer with this license and this capability. Sure. Could I go grab that engineer and plop them into that position? Sure. But it's not you. And that's what I feel like a lot of bosses don't care about and don't appreciate about people, is that if you've got a good worker who is motivated, who is just committed to their job, and they just don't appreciate it. They don't appreciate it. They don't appreciate how hard these people work. And it just makes me really, really sad. And some people just want people to show up and do their job, and they don't really care how they feel about their job. They don't care how they feel about themselves. They literally don't care. They just see you as a robot and someone that is completing a task and bringing them closer to an end goal. And that just makes me really sad. But I just want to make sure that people don't make the assumption to think that just because someone's your boss or because someone's their manager, that they genuinely care. They are responsible for your career development. And if they don't do that, you don't have a very good boss. Ooh, I have another good one. That there's like one way to skin a cat. I think something that's so beautiful about business and hiring more team members and employees is that you get so many different ways of doing something. Like, working for people that are like, there's one way to do this, and that's the only way to do it, is not good. Now, they could have a direction they want you to be in, and they can have like a general swimming lane. But people that are not open to, well, I want to try this, or I want to try that, or I want to do whatever, that's hard to work for. That's a really hard culture to work in. And I've worked in environments before that, like, every employee was almost the same person. Like, they hired the same type of person with the same type of attitude, with the same type of background. And this will bring me right next to my next unpopular opinion, and that's just that that is people think in the workplace is that you have to fit into the culture. That you have to fit into the culture to be successful. Now, I think for me, having people from different walks of life and different experience or whatever just makes a business better, well-rounded. I, again, have worked in places that every person could have been copy paste, different hair color, different height, different skin tone, different name. But that's the only thing that was different about everybody. They had like the same, they were all athletes. They all had the same type of personality. They all had, and then you have a certain type of work culture that's based on that. And I remember me not wanting to be included in some things that they were doing. Or I was like, hey, I don't really want to go to that or whatever. And then you're hazed because you don't go, or people treat you a certain way because you're not this picture perfect culture fit. I always found to be very, very interesting. And people get so focused on, like, don't get so focused on making sure somebody fits the culture that you only end up hiring one type of person. You really, really, really have to be careful of that. Just because you don't fit into the usual statistical employee circumstance or like story means that you're not going to be successful at that company. It's like that, was it Mark Twain that was like, a fish can't climb a tree? Didn't Mark Twain say that? He was talking about public school system. I'm pretty sure. I might be making this all wrong. I'm sure somebody will know what I'm talking about. But it's like that you want every kid to learn the same way and do the same things. And it's like kids have different skills and they have different, and so it was like you can't teach a fish how to climb a tree because a fish is really good at swimming, right? It's not a monkey, it's a different animal. And so I think that's interesting with work as well, is that especially at my experience with like corporate cultures, they are looking for a certain type of person and they have to fit inside a certain type of training program and a certain type of this and a certain type of that. And it's just like, I was horrible at a certain job because I felt like I had to go through this exact same step that like the one size fits all program, I feel like is so dangerous when you're dealing with not one size fits all people. It's just really, really challenging. I would say my final unpopular opinion is that it's okay to have unpopular opinions. And for a long time, I didn't think that that was the case because sometimes people just don't like people that challenge the status quo, and they like a sheep and someone that will follow along with whatever people are saying and whatever people are doing and whatever. And I want to be very clear that if you're someone who holds really strong convictions and unpopular opinions about things, or you believe something is very white and it really, everybody else sees it as black or gray, you're going to struggle a little bit and you're going to be challenged in regards to your career and certain ways that you navigate life. But just know that it's okay to be different. It's okay to think differently. It's okay to be different. And it's okay to challenge people and challenge your bosses or your managers. And there are respectful and honorable ways to do this. But I'm speaking to my younger self right now. It is okay to not agree with what a boss is telling you to do, what a coworker is telling you to do, what authority is telling you to do. If something doesn't feel right or it doesn't seem right and you're like really in tune with yourself, that's usually a sign. And so don't abandon yourself or lose yourself just for the sake of keeping a job or keeping someone happy or pleasing a boss. Make sure that, especially the further along you get in your career, make sure you're also soul searching and you're figuring exactly who you are as a person, not just as a professional. So it's okay to say no when everybody else is saying yes, but expect that that's going to have a certain type of outcome. But you're strong enough to handle that and you're going to be okay. And I can tell you right now that if you feel like you're stuck at a job, that you have very different opinions or you feel different than your boss, there are other people out there that think like you and breathe like you and eat like you and live like you and work like you, and just try to go find them and source them out. You are one of a kind, but you're also not one of a kind, right? Like there are other people out there that are like you. So I want everyone who's listening to this podcast, if you tend to, follow the status quo and you're a people pleaser, but you're just feeling a little uncomfortable with that, just try being yourself a little bit more and getting more in tune with yourself and being okay with having an opinion that maybe doesn't match up with everyone else's. So hopefully this podcast was interesting. And I have so many unpopular opinions. I have so many opinions, period. that I could share. And I hope that this was helpful to you. And if you agree with some of them, let me know. If you disagree with some, let me know as well. Leave it in the comments. Let us know what you thought about this, and subscribe to our channel for next week's episode. Bye.